Hey guys, Juzzy here from Cyclestation. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to build one of the Airwalk kids bikes. So Jake's got a good deal on a heap of these. We're going to have them stocked up at the front of the shop for the car park sale. So yeah, basically, as you can see, they're pretty well packaged up. So we'll pop it all out and I'll run through it with you. All right, well, as you can see, we've got everything unpackaged. What you should expect to see in the box are your pedals. There'll be a little reflector, have your training wheels as well, which I'm gonna put on next, and obviously a seat and protective handlebar pad. So with the tools required, I've got out a 10mm spanner, 13mm spanner, and a 15mm pedal spanner. If you don't have a pedal spanner, generally regular spanner will do the job. Some Allen keys as well, because you never know when you'll need some Allen keys. Pliers, which we use for unpackaging, cutting the cable ties off, yeah, getting it all prepped up. So I'm going to start by placing the bike up on the bench here. Using a bench because I'm guessing a majority of you probably don't have work stands, and that's fine. One little trick when you're building these is to put the training wheels on first, just to help balance it. So undo the loose wheel nuts that are just sitting loose on the axle. Leave these little spaces in place here because they're very important to keep the training wheels from turning around when riding. And sweet. Right at the end of the build, we'll adjust these and tighten them up, so feel free just to leave them loose for now. So now we're going to put in the pedals. So I've got a little bit of grease here, just pop on the thread. And believe me, that just makes taking them out, you know, in a couple of years' time when they're busted up, replacing them, a little bit of grease will help take them off. All right, so pedals are in. Just going to give them a little tighten up. So as I mentioned earlier, if you don't have a pedal spanner, you can normally just use a 15mm spanner as long as it's not too wide. Generally, that'll just fit in there, do the same thing. Cool, righto. So now we're moving up to the seat. Pop that in place. For this one, we'll need a 5mm Allen key, so look for your number 5. So just going to tighten up the reflector here. It is loose, just so you know. All right, so we've got the handlebars now. For packaging sake, they pack them like this. So we will just have to undo the stem here. For this one, we'll need the 6mm Allen key. Undo all those bolts, about one turn, just to back it off. We'll spin that around the place. Make sure the cable is on the front of the handlebar. If you put it behind, it can get tangled up, so keep it at the front of the handlebar there, and we'll slide this in. Righto. So at the top here, at the top of the stem, we've got the bolt, which is connected to a little quill down here, so we need to tighten this one up. Just gently. Cool. As a rule of thumb, it's good to have the handlebar sort of vertical at this point. No harm in adjusting it back or forward a little, but vertical is a good starting point. So moving to the front of the bike, we've got the front wheel. So generally you just pop it in the fork there and in you go. But unfortunately the brake is done up. So we're gonna have to undo that brake so that we can fit the wheel in through here. For this you'll need a 10mm spanner. About 2 turns on the anchor bolt to loosen that cable off. The brakes will flare open, and then we can put the front wheel in. As you can see, the little washer has a hook on it. That hook has to sit in the hole in the fork prior to doing it up. So basically, if that wheel is to come loose, there's a lot less chance of the wheel falling out. So make sure that's sitting in there. Cool. 15mm spanner to do up the wheel nuts. So what we're going to do here now is tighten up this brake cable again. So the best way to do it is put your hand through the wheel, close the brakes up and just nip it up. Whilst we're here, we'll check the alignment of the brake pads. So as you can see, they're a little bit off and they're not quite in line with the rim. So we just want to use the 10mm spanner and adjust that by hand. Righto, so we're getting towards the end of the build now. I'll pop the bike on the ground because we're going to have to check the level on the training wheels, and also got to pop this little handlebar pad on. So it comes with a foam pad, don't lose that. That actually sits over the handlebar like so. And wraps around nicely. So a bit of a protective pad for when they get a bit wild. So back at the training wheel end, we're on the ground now, so we can actually set the level of those. So I'm just going to give them a tighten up. With training wheels, we find a lot of people have issues with setting the height, and what often happens is they set the bike too high off the ground, and thinking that it's going to be much more stable like that. But then they go to pedal it off and the wheel just spins. So yeah, it's not going to get the kid very far. So what we need to do is back them off a little bit. We want to have roughly about probably 7 to 10mm gap under the training wheels on sort of either side to allow for turning and and not lifting the wheel off the ground. Causing them to possibly fall off. So we'll lift them up a bit. And as you can see, a little bit of rock and obviously traction, which is important. So yeah, as you can see there, that's about how much space you want underneath them. Righto, cool. So training wheels are done. Obviously I didn't do the handlebars up super tight, so we need to adjust them as well while we're on the ground, and more so that we can keep them aligned. So I'm going to drop that down a little bit. On this part of the stem there is a minimum insert, so make sure that the minimum insert is beyond the top nut there. If you can see the writing, it's too far out and it's not safe. Cool. Tighten up the bell. So finishing touch, we have the reflector for the front. Normally reflectors would go up on the handlebar, but for some reason these ones go around the stem. So that's where we're going to put it. So that's it, that's how you build an Airwalk. Obviously, if you've got a pump at home, pump up the tyres to the recommended pressure, on these being about 40 PSI max. Yeah, and wear a helmet. All right, so here we are with the finished product. I've had to take the training wheels off because I have outgrown training wheels, but it's definitely time for a bit of a road test. So I'm gonna go for a ride. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you at the car park sale, and bon voyage. Send it down, hey.
All right, go for it.
All right, cool. All right, see you down the bottom then.
Mom!